One way I see ageism in society today would be in the workplace. As far as getting a job, younger people are more apt to get the job because they can be paid less if they're coming right out of college, uh, rather than older people who've worked for a long time who expect to get paid more. And as far as specific jobs, younger people are perceived as like better with technology or certain things like that, or older people might be perceived as better with handling people or anything along those lines. And then some people lose their job as they get older because they're not as effective, and after you stay at a job for a while, you expect to get paid more. So they'll try to get new people in to replace you that they can rely on.
I've seen it with my younger siblings. They get away with a lot of things that I don't, and they get to do more things because they're younger. They're treated more with care, you can say. One day, my little brother, he stole a bag of pennies from his teacher, and he didn't get in trouble for it. They would just pass it off because he was young. They thought, oh, maybe he didn't know what he was doing. He was little. But I thought maybe if he was my other brother that was a little bit older, he would have gotten into more trouble because he was a teenager. So yeah, and also one day when I was walking on the street with my younger brother, someone asked me if that was my son. Just because I was a teen and I was with a kid, they assumed that he was my son.
I've seen ageism in society today is through sports. Oftentimes, the captain is picked by the coach, and it's always like a senior or an upperclassman. And oftentimes, this isn't necessarily the correct choice based off leadership status. It's just based off the age and how he's been through the program. And one example was back in high school on our basketball team. It was our sophomore year, and there was only one senior on the team. And he wasn't a very good leader on and off the court. On the court, he said the right things, so coach thought he was a good leader. But off the court, he would do all kinds of bad actions toward his own teammates and towards other classmates. And it ended up spiraling into a big thing where the players on our high school team, actually 3 of them quit, who played significant minutes. And it ended up where we had a pretty underachieving year based off the leadership of that one senior.
So one of the ways I've seen ageism in my life is with older people viewing younger people as untrustworthy or even as delinquents. And so one way I've seen this personally is I've walked into stores before, and then as I'm browsing around, I noticed that someone working at the store will purposely walk by whatever aisle I'm in and kind of spy on me in a way to make sure I'm not doing anything, and I'm not going to do anything wrong. It's kind of frustrating that they would just assume because of my age that they would assume that I'm going to do something wrong. Or one time I was sitting on a bench with my friends outside, and we were just waiting around for a little bit, and a cop actually came up to us and started asking us what we were doing and why we were there. Not because we looked suspicious or anything, just because of our age. He just assumed that we must be up to no good.
One of the most visible ways I've seen ageism in our society today is through these 55 plus retirement housing communities. And I guess the story starts with my grandmother, who at the time was 54. And we were always really close. She lived in Oklahoma, and she lived about 20 minutes away from where our family lived with our grandfather. And then one day, just out of the blue, they went, and our grandparents were just running their usual route at the park, and my grandfather had a heart attack, and then a day later he passed away. And so now grandmother was left in this big house that she had no need to stay in their big house for, and she couldn't afford it anymore. So she was going to move into a smaller house, and so we saw these retirement homes around the corner from where we lived, and we talked to people, and they said that they could only have 20% of the people under the age of 55 living there, and they'd already exceeded the 20%. So they basically denied my grandmother's approval to live in those retirement homes.
While negative portrayals and messages of aging are common when marketers and media address the older market, most of the time this population is practically invisible to them. Only 5% of the marketing dollar are spent on individuals over the age of 50. Together with lack of inclusive, appropriate products, this neglect can make older consumers feel irrelevant, even though they have money to spend.
You know, with coaching, they want coaches to be experienced. And I think a lot of times the assumption is if you're young, you don't have as much experience, so then they'll kind of overlook maybe some of your qualifications and just look past you, just depending on your age.
In a general, in our general culture, I think that a lot of times experience is preferred, or you look at job descriptions, it's master's preferred, bachelor's required, or it's 5 years experience for this or that. And I think a lot of times people in higher levels of jobs or higher opportunity, or better opportunities, so to speak, are looking for people with more experience, when the reality is maybe the best person for the job, because of education or because of resources, may be someone that's younger, a little bit more talented, that's experienced, more resources that they've gone on, maybe the best fit for the job. But I think some of the people in higher positions see experience and age maybe as a preference over someone younger that's a little more talented. It's just the way it has been for a long time. And I think people use the term millennials now, and I think as people graduate with more resources and opportunities and a little bit better education, maybe that's starting, that concept and that stereotype is starting to change. But I think at the end of the day, people like to go with what's comfortable, and what's comfortable is the person who's been in the business for 20 years, or what's comfortable is the person who's experienced things for X amount, X, Y, and Z. So I think that's the reason what it is. It's just comfortable. It's the way it has been. But I think as time goes on, I think that may start changing and evolving as you look at younger coaches or younger professionals, younger CEOs, younger managers. I think that stereotype is starting to slowly evolve and change and be more even.
I think because a lot of times, we see these silly clips or whatever, and people are out there kind of giving the younger generation a bad rap. So maybe sometimes they just are assuming all millennials are, not working hard or not putting in the effort to advance in their career.
I think by young, and I'll use the word millennials again, proving themselves in the work field. The young person from, I'll say MIT or Harvard, being successful, or people that are younger, excelling in a CEO role, or excelling as a manager, or excelling as a coach. I think in any of those fields, if the young person can excel and see positive results from a business perspective or from in the workforce, I think results speak, stats speak, facts speak. So I think as younger individuals thrive and do well in that environment and in that aspect, I think that stereotype will, like I said, will start to fade. And I think you'll see more younger people getting opportunities that might not have been afforded to them in the past.
I think that I've just been persistent in getting my licensing and gaining more experience, because that's the only way that I can kind of push past people looking at me and saying, oh, she's young, she has no experience. If I gain the experience, then they can't say I have no experience.